Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I briefly gave a description of my channel and what it's basically about in my first video. But I told you guys I would come back and do a part 2 of my heart transplants. For those that, didn't see my first video, there's a link down below that you can go and look at my first video of me basically describing, my heart transplants. I'm a 3-time heart transplant patient and how I survived my journey through Christ, through the Lord, because without Him, nothing is possible. I hope my message finds you guys in good health and a good spirit this evening. And yes, I'm back here to give part 2 of my journey of having a heart transplants. I'm basically just trying to reach out to those who are either waiting on a heart or trying to receive a heart or about to get a heart or any organ. I've been dealing with the heart situation for well over like 25, close to 30 years. Just back and forth with the hospitals and surgeries and clinic appointments. So I'm pretty knowledgeable of, the things that you go through as far as the heart is concerned, as far as getting any transplant is concerned. So that's why I want you guys to like, comment, subscribe. And if you take a few seconds, please subscribe to my channel, right about I9J. And just briefly discuss with me, if you have any questions or comments about what you're going through or what you have reservations about, or maybe what you have fear of, as far as the hearts and getting an organ and stuff like that. I just want to educate you and give you my journey on what I've been through as far as the heart is concerned. Just trying to make your transition, if you are having a transplant or of any kind, a little smoother and possibly address some of your concerns and fears that you might have. So I left off with me having my second transplant. So I'm going to start out by saying that when I was in the hospital trying to prepare for my second heart transplant, you have your reservations about being scared and stuff like that, but I pretty much knew the procedure and was just more or less fearful of what's about to happen. It's the unknown that sometimes people be scared of, because it is a serious operation. It is something serious that you go through. And it's like life or death, you know what I'm saying? Because no one is promised, nothing is promised. That's why the doctors basically tell you when you're about, have a little organ transplant and they have you sign something, a waiver, that, is basically just telling you that, things can happen, but there are safety measures in place just in case something do happen. They're pretty good. And as you can see behind me, you see the heart received from New York Presbyterian. That heart basically was when I got my transplant. They give you one of those. And basically what it does is, like sometimes when you have, your chest open, you develop like, a cough. If you cough, the pillow is supposed to be on your chest like this. And basically it's supposed to like make the pressure and the pain less, because you're basically holding it to your chest and you're holding on to it. And when you cough or anything like that, your chest rises. So it basically stops some of the pain from going through. It works pretty good though. I will tell you that. It works pretty good. So when I was in the hospital, what happened was when I was having my second heart transplant, like I said in my first video, I was feeling a little weak. And like for that whole week, I couldn't sleep at all. I didn't know what was going on. All I knew, I just couldn't sleep. And when I mean I couldn't sleep, I couldn't sleep. I didn't get a wink of sleep. Not even for 5 minutes. Like I would lay down and go like that, and I would get right back up. My body just wasn't feeling right. It looked like the whole algorithm was off. So my wife and I went to the emergency room, and they ran some tests. I got triage. They ran some tests, and the test didn't come back the way they wanted it to. So they asked me to stay overnight. And me, I didn't want to stay overnight. It's like I was taking it serious, but I felt like I was okay. And reason being is because it was Halloween. And my main thing, I don't know why I was so focused on it, because I love my grandkids. I was so focused on um, taking them trick or treating because it was like a fun time. Because every year we would go trick or treating together, and we made a move. We made, it was like a whole vibe. We just made a whole vibe out of just going trick or treating. So I didn't want to miss that. So I told the doctors, I didn't want to stay. So long story short, they convinced me to stay. My wife convinced me to stay. My wife wasn't having it. She convinced me to stay. I said, okay, I'll stay for the night, and I'll let you guys run your tests, and we see what we find in the morning. So I stayed, and like overnight, they was doing all of these tests, running blood, doing EKGs, stuff like that to figure out what was going on. So when the morning came, they still didn't figure out what was going on with me. They couldn't figure it out. So they said, okay, Mr. Jackson, you have to stay another night. So, that wasn't flying with me because that night was Halloween, and it was time to go trick-or-treating later that day. So I said, no, I'm not staying. You guys didn't find anything, and I don't encourage this for anybody. When the doctor tells you to stay, you stay because your health is more important. It's just that, I can't even explain why I didn't stay. But I just wanted to go trick-or-treating with my kids. It's not that I didn't take my health seriously because, I was always in tune with my health. Any little thing, I was at the doctor. So I said, no, I'm signing out. They said, you're going to sign out against your own, against doctor's orders. I said, okay, that's fine. So I signed out. So my wife came to get me, and we headed home. So when we got home, I laid back down in the bed, and, I still was feeling the same. A little weak, couldn't sleep, but I laid across the bed and started watching TV. So I say about maybe 9 o'clock at night hit. 9 o'clock at night hit, and here it is. It's time to go trick-or-treating. Because trick-or-treating is over at 10. So we always gave ourselves an hour to take the kids around in the neighborhood and go to another neighborhood by the school and do some trick-or-treating because they gave out the best candies and stuff like that over there. So anyway, I laid across the bed, and when it was time to go trick-or-treating, it was me, my sister, and my wife taking out, all the grands, which was about 5 of them, trick-or-treating. So that time came. Time to come, I'm laying across the bed, and I still was feeling weak. So I said, you know what, babe? I said, y'all take them trick-or-treating, and I'm just going to lay here because I still don't feel well. So she was like, okay. So they went out trick-or-treating, and I'm there watching TV. I'm laid across the bed, and I still was feeling weak. I still was feeling weak for some reason. My heart was talking to me, but I'm still like with this mentality, like I'm going to be okay, like it'll pass. And me, I was shocked that I was even to this day because I pay attention to the signs. I don't basically not pay attention to any signs. So this time I just ignored it. Like I said, I don't encourage that. You have pain, you have any signs, you're feeling weak, you're feeling feverish, anything like that, I encourage you, go get checked out. But they was out for maybe about, I want to say a little over an hour. A little over an hour they was gone. So when I looked at the clock, it was like 10:30. So I said, okay, they probably, I know they are probably on their way in because trick-or-treating is over at 10 o'clock. So as soon as I said that, they came in. As soon as I seen my wife, she came in. I said, babe, I need you to take me back to the hospital. I'm not getting any better, and I still feel the same. Unbeknownst to me, I was getting weaker. So she said, okay. So her and my sister drove me back to the hospital. This hospital was Robert Wood Johnson at the time. Robert Wood Johnson in New Jersey at the time. In Somerset, New Jersey. Robert Wood. So as soon as I pulled up, I wasn't even able to get out of the car. That's how weak I was. So my sister went inside, told the nurse that, my brother is in the car. He's unable to, walk in on his own. So the nurse came out with a wheelchair. She came out with a wheelchair. I sat down. They rolled me into triage. As soon as they rolled me into triage, she put me by the desk and she started asking me a bunch of questions, my name and all of that, date of birth and all of that. And I want to say about 2 minutes into her triaging me, doing everything, my whole, true story, my whole peripheral, I couldn't see out of the side. I couldn't see nothing. Like if I was to go, I couldn't see anything. Everything was black. Everything turned black. So next thing I know, I hear the nurse. I hear her saying, "Mr. Jackson, get on the bed." So she wanted me to get up out of my chair and get on the bed that was right there. Wasn't happening. Body wasn't happening. Me getting up on my own wasn't happening. So the next thing I know, I just started drifting to the side. I felt myself drifting to the side. So I started drifting to the side and my eyes were slowly closing. And the last thing I heard and seen, I heard her yelling out some codes because I'm assuming she knew exactly what was going on. I heard her yelling out some codes, and the last thing I seen, because the door was right in front of me, was a male nurse running into the room. I guess as she yelling the code, he's running into the room, and that's the last thing I see. Then my eyes just completely closed. They said I flatlined right there. So the male nurse grabbed my arm. This is my wife and the nurses filling in the story for me because I basically flatlined. So they said the nurse grabbed my arm, pulled me back up, and they threw me on the bed. The male nurse jumped on top of me and started doing CPR. So he's pumping my chest. They said he was pumping my chest so hard as they rolling me out of there to the emergency room to do emergency surgery. So what happened was when they took me to surgery, they said that the left side of my heart went completely bad. The right side was okay, but the left side went completely bad. I didn't even know, the left and right or whatever they was. When I wasn't knowledgeable, this is when I started learning about the heart. The left side went bad. So what they did was they put a balloon. It's like a balloon this big. And the balloon is basically there to help pump your heart. So the right side was pumping, but the left side was weak. So when they put the balloon, it basically was helping pump my heart to give the right side some assistance. So they did that. And then they put me on something called an LVAD. An LVAD is simply, you'll hear this word if you already didn't hear it. The LVAD is simply an artificial heart that they put in my chest, with the tubes. They attach me to an artificial heart. It's basically just to allow your original heart to rest and have this artificial heart to pump for you. So I was on an LVAD, right? So as I'm on an LVAD, now they put me in what they call a medically induced coma to have me relax, to allow my heart to rest. And at this time, when they put me in a medically induced coma, I forgot what day it was or time it was, but I know it was close to my birthday, maybe about a week or two before my birthday. When they finally felt, I was good enough for them to wake me up out of my coma, my wife said they called her to come back to the hospital because they're about to wake me up. So when she got back to the hospital, they started giving me medications to wake me up. So now, mind you, I'm coming out of a coma. So I'm laying there, and when they put the medication in me to wake me up out of my coma, they started calling my name. Mr. Jackson, can you see anybody? What do you see? Or are you there? Everything okay? Stuff like that. So I was only able to see like silhouettes. And, my wife, she's short. So when I scanned the room and seen all of these doctors, I immediately spotted my wife. So the first words I said was, when I said it in a groggy voice, because mind you, I'm just waking up. I said, "Hi, babe," just like that. And everybody just started saying, "Oh, there you go, he back." You start hearing all these doctors talking like, "Welcome back, Mr. Jackson," this, that, and the third. So my wife started smiling. She was like, "Hi, babe." Came over, gave me a kiss. And when I finally was able to be like coherent enough to, sit up and talk or whatever, I looked at the time and the date on the wall. I said, "Babe, wait. What's today's date? Is it the 19th? And my birthday's on the 20th. November 20th. So she was like, "Yeah, it's the 19th. I said, "Are you kidding me?" So I was in a coma for almost a week and a half, close to 2 weeks. She said, "Yeah, you was in a coma that long." I'm like, wow. So she was like, "Yeah, this how long you was in a coma." But this was, something that they did, on purpose to allow me just to rest or whatever. So everything, I was in the hospital. And this is when they knew that I had to be put back on the donors list. Because my heart, I was so anxious to get home during the weeks and days that I was there. I was so anxious to get home. So I'm laying there and I'm in ICU. I'm laying there and I looked at my wife. I said, "You know what, babe? We was planning on doing it. So why not do it now?" She was like, "What you talking about, babe?" I said, "We was planning on getting married, because we was in the process of talking about as far as getting married. I've been with my wife for about, my oldest daughter is 35. I've been with my wife for 34, 35 years. I know what you guys going to say. You should have been married her. But anyway, how we met, I went to Boys and Girls High School in Brooklyn, New York. And I was on the basketball team. I was one of the star players on the basketball team. And she was the captain of the cheerleading squad. I was the point guard, or more like the shooting guard. I was the shooting guard. She was the captain of the cheerleaders. So that's how we met. To this day, we still go back and forth about who came over to who first or who sent. I say she sent the note from a mutual friend of ours. She say no. She didn't send no note. Aaron came. It was a whole big thing. But anyway, that's how we met. So we've been together for a long time now. We have 4 daughters together. They're all grown now, and my 6 grandkids, my 7 grandkids. So yeah, so at that time, my birthday was coming up, and I'm like, "Babe, we might as well do it." She was like, "What?" I'm like, "Get married. We was planning on it while I was, out home. So why not just do it?" She was like, "Okay, so how we gonna pull this off?" So there was a nurse who was like the charge nurse. She was like the charge nurse. And one day she came in and I asked her, and I said, "Me and my wife would like to get married. How can we pull this off?" Oh, she was excited. That was like, we made her day. So she was like, "Don't worry about it. I got it. I know what to do. I'ma plan it." So she started planning. She started telling all the doctors and the nurses that was involved in my care that, they're going to get married. They want to get married. We got to help them out. So long story short, my wife went to the courthouse to get the paperwork, I guess, from the Justice of Peace. Because, you had to make, formalities. You got to, do it on paper. So she went to get that. The nurse organized the doctors and visitors to come. They decorated my room, in which I'm going to show you guys pictures. They decorated my room with they covered all the machines with white sheets, and they really did it up. They really took their time and made this a big event, because you're getting married. You got to make that something type of special, even though you're in a hospital. So that's what they did. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of pictures that we took, while I was in the hospital preparing to get married. This is, I want to say, after we got married. This is my wife, and these are my daughters. These are my daughters at the time. Oh, they grown now, but that was me right there. That was me right there, and this was after the wedding. See, they decorated my room and stuff like that. I had my best man there. This is another picture of us. That's my oldest daughter. She was pregnant at the time. That's my wife. And that was my oldest daughter's boyfriend at the time. That's me. And then you have us again, taking a family portrait. And my two oldest daughters getting ready for our wedding. So that was that. So then, I see, it's more pictures, but I have it in my other book. Let's see. Yeah, so we got married in the hospital. We was the first couple to ever get married in New York Presbyterian. So that went down. They wrote an article about it and this, that, and the third. So we got married, and that was an emotional time for me too, because I was able to. Let me see. I want to show you the machine. I want to show you guys the machine that I was on when I got married. The LVAD that I was talking about. So where is it? Let's go back to that. Let's see if we can see it in any of these pictures. No, because it's blocking it. I'm not able to see it. But anyway, the LVAD that I was on, it was right next to me. The artificial heart, I want to call it, the artificial heart. And it was just basically tubes that they had to keep in me to pump my blood to have my heart beating. But this is the scar they do it. Technology is good now to where, they try to, sometimes some of them, you don't even look like you had surgery. But that's the technology that they use nowadays. But anyway, we got married. I had family and friends over. My heart doctor was there. All the nurses was there. I got up and did a first dance. I wasn't able to to get my two-step on, but I was able to because mind you, I got this machine attached to me. So anyway, after that, I was in the hospital, I want to say for maybe before I got the transplant, before the heart came, 2 weeks. It took me 2 weeks to get a heart because, like I said in my first video, my blood type was AB positive. So AB positive, you're able to get you're universal. You're able to accept any heart. So that was a plus, because if I didn't have AB positive, the transition would have been a little longer for me. So even though now the technology is so different, people with other blood types are getting hearts like that. They're getting hearts like that. So yeah, 2 weeks, I was in my room. Me and my wife was laying there. It was a little late at night, and the doctor came in and said, "We found a heart for you." So I said, "Oh, praise the Lord." So they flew out, got the heart, and when they get back with the organ, they tell you afterwards, they tell you something of the person, of the donor that got, that I received the heart from. I just want to say, God bless the donors. They saved many lives for people who want to donate and for families who want to donate. Because if no one donated, I wouldn't have my organs that I have. You understand what I'm saying? It saved lives. And I just want to say I'm very appreciative of people that donate. I have a greater respect for the people that donate and save lives. That's a blessing. So, like I said, I got one from my donor. And according to the doctors, me and my donor was like a perfect match. We was like twins. Things got to align. You just don't get a heart and you put it in. No, a lot of things have to align, as far as, when you get your organ, because, you want to get a perfect organ, close to perfect organ anyway, because you don't want your organ to be attacked by your body. That's why you have to take immunosuppressants for the rest of your life. Because I take two. I take tacrolimus and I take mycophenolate. And those basically are two immunosuppression medications, basically just to fool my body into thinking that the heart that I received, it was my original heart, is my original heart. So you have to take those medications. religiously, every day, on time, all the time, because you don't want to go into what they call rejection. You know, if you go into rejection, the heart can go bad. So it's important that you take your medication. If you take your medication at 10 in the morning, make sure you take it at 10 at night. You know, when you set your regimen, I set mine for 10. So every morning at 10 and every night at 10, I take my medication. So when they went and got the heart, like I said, I already received my first heart, so I knew what to expect with the second one. Went to the operating room. The nurse, the anesthesiologist was making jokes with me, and you know how they do when they put that stuff on your nose. They make jokes, and they tell you, you know, where you want to go to right now. I said Disneyland. She's like, okay, count to 3. I said 1, and was gone. I was asleep before I can even think. I said 2. I was asleep, and that's basically what makes the transition a little smoother, because, you know, once you go to sleep, you know, your body is being taken over by these doctors, you know what I'm saying? So before I even put the anesthesia on me, I said a prayer for the Lord to, you know, to bless the doctor's hands that's about to, you know, do my surgery and let me be successful, that the operation come out successful. So by the time I woke up, you think it's like 10-15 minutes, but no, the operation took about 7 to 8 hours. So that's why I said the transition of having your organ, or your heart, your lung, your kidney, whatever organ that you're about to have, that transition is smooth. Most people fear the unknown before they even get that organ, but I'm here to assure you, when you get your transplant, you don't feel anything. You don't feel anything. Only thing you might feel is when you got your organ, and then now the medication of them numbing you up is wearing off. But they give you, you know, some pain meds for that. And if you take your pain meds the way they tell you to take them, you don't feel no pain. You start really healing before you feel any pain. You know, you start healing. I didn't feel no pain, because if they tell me to take my medication every 5 hours, I took my medication every 5 hours. So that's why I didn't feel any pain. So once I got my transplant, I went to recovery room. I stayed maybe in ICU, because they still got to monitor you. They still got to monitor you. I stayed in ICU for maybe about a week, and then I went to the recovery room. So I want to say, after maybe about 3 weeks, I was already going home. So they say you're supposed to wait, you know, or that transition is supposed to be like a month or so. But I was already physically fit, because I was like, you know, I was a stocky guy. You know, my family is like big boned, so I was stocky. I was already in good health. So at that time, I was able to go home within 3 weeks. But as long as my medication levels was where they're supposed to be, meaning my immunosuppression, it has to be at a certain level before they can allow you to go home. So once my levels hit where I was able, you know, at the levels that they wanted, I went home. And, you know, I had braids at that time. Yeah, believe it or not, I had braids at that time. But the first thing I did when I got home, I'll tell you in the next video. You'll be shocked at this. The first thing I want to do when I get home. But yes, I'm gonna have a part 3 to this video, because there's more. And like I said, I want people to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or any comments about your transition or your transplant, or your family member, you know, giving an organ away or receiving an organ or anything like that, let's talk about it. You know, I like to hear everybody's story and talk about it, you know, because I used to be a part of a group. You know, we can even do that. You know, if you want to create a group, a care group, to help people out with their transitions, and, you know, as far as talking about what their fear is of receiving a heart, or the surgeries, or anything of that nature, I'm here. I'm an open book. We can talk about it. So like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I will definitely see you guys on part 3, the final chapter of my journey with 3 heart transplants. This says, this is my family. This is my family. We like doing, you know, Christmas. Christmas is a big thing to us, but this is my bloodline. That's my wife right above me, you know. But this is me, and the title is 4 Hearts. So I had 3 hearts, but the 4th heart would, my original heart would be considered 1. And then, you know, I had 3 transplants after that. That's why I say I had 3 transplants. But my original heart would be, you know, the first one. That's why it says 4 hearts on the book, in which I'm in the process of writing the book, and I'm definitely gonna finish it. But these pictures here is my final, will be in my final video, my chapter 3 of me having a heart transplant. So I'm going to show you all the family members that came to see me and all of the videos. And this nurse right here was my favorite nurse. She took care of me, boy. She, anything that I needed, wanted, she was on it. She was on it. She didn't play about me, boy. But I'm going to show you this book and my video of my transition with my 3rd heart transplant. But like I said, I hope you guys are doing well out there, and I hope to hear from you. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm sorry. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, please. I want to talk to you. I want to get this knowledge out there. I have a lot of knowledge, and I want to answer a lot of questions, and you know, kind of smooth you over about as far as your fears are concerned. So until then, you guys be well. Until next time.